When an object is successfully uploaded to Amazon S3, which HTTP status code does S3 return? Correct answer, 200. Explanation: Amazon S3 returns HTTP status code 200, OK, to indicate a successful object upload. This confirms that the request was completed successfully without errors. Why others are incorrect? 100, continue informational response, not used for successful uploads. 300, multiple choices indicates multiple redirection options, unrelated to S3 uploads. 400, bad request indicates a client error, not success. Which AWS tool lets you review your reserved instances usage and provides cost-saving recommendations if additional RIS are purchased? Correct answer, AWS Cost Explorer. Explanation: AWS Cost Explorer provides detailed insights into usage and costs, including reserved instances utilization and recommendations on purchasing RIS to save money. Why others are incorrect? AWS Trusted Advisor gives cost optimization checks but not detailed RI utilization and recommendation reports. AWS Simple Monthly Calculator, legacy tool for estimating costs, not used for tracking RI usage. AWS Personal Health Dashboard provides alerts about AWS events affecting your resources, not financial reporting. Which of these is considered an architectural best practice for building reliable systems on AWS? Correct answer, deploy into multiple availability zones. Explanation: distributing workloads across multiple availability zones improves fault tolerance and reliability in the AWS cloud. Why others are incorrect? Single AZ creates a single point of failure. Tight coupling reduces flexibility and fault tolerance. Monolithic architecture, hard to scale and less resilient compared to microservices. Which of the following are financial benefits of moving workloads to AWS? Correct answers: reduced TCO, and reduced OPEX. Explanation: migrating to AWS reduces both total cost of ownership and operational expenses by avoiding upfront hardware costs and paying only for resources consumed. Why others are incorrect? Increased CAPEX, cloud reduces capital expenses, it doesn't increase them. Increased OPEX, cloud lowers operational costs instead of raising them. Where can you find and purchase software from third-party vendors that runs on AWS? Correct answer: AWS Marketplace. Explanation: AWS Marketplace is an online store that provides software solutions from independent software vendors. Why others are incorrect? Amazon Athena, interactive SQL query service for analyzing S3 data. Amazon Lightsail, simplified hosting solution, not a marketplace. AWS Cloud Search, search service, unrelated to software purchasing. Which design principle is related to reliability in the AWS well-architected framework? Correct answer, automatically recover from failure. Explanation: a key reliability principle is that workloads should automatically recover when failures occur to maintain availability. Why others are incorrect: operations as code belongs to operational excellence. Protect data in transit/at rest belongs to security. Go global in minutes refers to agility, not reliability. A company needs to handle hundreds of user requests simultaneously. Which AWS services provide an efficient and scalable solution? Correct answer, Amazon Kinesis and Amazon Athena. Explanation: Amazon Kinesis allows real-time streaming data processing, and Amazon Athena provides serverless querying, making them ideal for handling multiple user requests efficiently. Why others are incorrect: Amazon SQL plus Lambda, no service called Amazon SQL, Lambda isn't used directly for simultaneous request streaming. Data Pipeline plus EC2, used for scheduled workflows, not high-scale request processing. Amplify plus AppSync, better suited for mobile/web app backends, not massive request handling. Which are required components of an AWS site-to-site VPN connection? Correct answers: Customer Gateway, and Virtual Private Gateway. Explanation: a site-to-site VPN requires a customer gateway, on-premises device, and a virtual private gateway. Why others are incorrect: NAT gateway, used for outbound internet access, not VPN. Internet gateway, provides internet access, not private VPN connectivity. Storage gateway, used for hybrid storage, not VPN. For an Amazon EC2 dedicated host reservation, which payment option provides the largest discount? Correct answer, all upfront payment. Explanation: all upfront payment offers the highest discount because AWS receives full payment in advance. Why others are incorrect: no upfront, least cost savings. Partial upfront, some savings, but not as much as all upfront. Hourly on demand, no RI discount at all. A developer wants to deploy applications in containers without managing backend servers. Which AWS service should be used? Correct answer, AWS Fargate. Explanation: AWS Fargate is a serverless compute engine for containers, automatically provisioning and managing resources. Why others are incorrect: Amazon EKS, manages Kubernetes clusters, but still requires node management. Amazon EC2, full control over servers, not serverless. Amazon Lightsail, simplified cloud hosting, not container focused. A company wants to avoid long-term contracts and shift from fixed costs to variable costs. Which AWS value proposition does this represent? Correct answer, pay-as-you-go pricing. Explanation: the pay-as-you-go model lets customers pay only for the resources they consume, avoiding fixed or upfront costs. Why others are incorrect: economies of scale, benefit from AWS buying power, not about avoiding contracts. Volume discounts, apply only with high usage commitments. Cost optimization, general practice, not a pricing model. A company has stopped all its Amazon EC2 instances, but billing charges are still being incurred. What is the most likely reason for these charges? Correct answer, Amazon EBS storage charges. Explanation: when EC2 instances are stopped, the instance usage billing stops. However, associated resources like Amazon EBS volumes, elastic IP addresses, and snapshots may still incur charges. The most common cost is for EBS volumes that remain provisioned. Why others are incorrect: elastic IP charges, elastic IPs incur charges only if not attached to a running instance, not the main cost driver in this scenario. Hardware charges, AWS does not bill customers for hardware, it charges for provisioned resources. Operating system charges, OS licensing charges apply only when the instance is running, not when stopped. Which AWS service or tool provides a list of all users in an account and reports on their password, access keys, and MFA status? Correct answer, IAM Credential Report. Explanation: IAM Credential Report generates a report for all IAM users in the account, showing their password status, access key status, and MFA details. Why others are incorrect: AWS Trusted Advisor provides optimization and security recommendations, not credential reports. AWS Shield protects against DDoS attacks, unrelated to user credentials. Amazon Inspector scans for vulnerabilities, not user credential details. A large enterprise must keep workloads on premises but still wants to use AWS's same management and control plane. Which AWS service should it choose? Correct answer, AWS Outposts. Explanation: AWS Outposts extends AWS infrastructure and services to on-premises environments, enabling workloads to run locally with AWS management. Why others are incorrect: AWS Fargate, a container service, not for on-premises infrastructure. AWS Ground Station, for satellite data, unrelated to on-premises hosting. AWS Device Farm, for testing apps on mobile devices, not hybrid cloud. A developer is concerned about DDoS attacks on an application. Which AWS services/features can provide protection? Correct answer, AWS Shield. Explanation: AWS Shield provides managed DDoS protection for AWS applications. Why others are incorrect? AWS Support Center, for support tickets, not security. AWS CloudTrail, for auditing API calls, not DDoS defense. Amazon CloudFront improves performance and can absorb some traffic, but main DDoS protection is via Shield. AWS Service Health Dashboard shows AWS service status, not customer DDoS protection. A company wants to serve a global user base with low latency and high transfer speeds from a single AWS region. Which services will help? Correct answer, Amazon CloudFront, and AWS Global Accelerator. Explanation, Amazon CloudFront uses a content delivery network to reduce latency. AWS Global Accelerator routes traffic through AWS's global network for performance and availability. Why others are incorrect? AWS Lambda, for compute, not global acceleration. Application Load Balancer, works within a region, not global optimization. AWS Direct Connect, private connection from on-premises to AWS, not for distributing to global users. A company expects a short-term spike in web traffic and wants flexibility at minimal cost, with no interruption. Which EC2 pricing model should they use? Correct answer, on-demand instances. Explanation, on-demand instances provide flexibility with no long-term commitments and ensure availability during demand spikes. Why others are incorrect? Dedicated hosts, more expensive, intended for licensing compliance. Spot instances, cheapest but can be interrupted, not suitable here. Reserved instances, require upfront/long-term commitment, not ideal for short spikes. Which AWS service provides NFS access to Linux clients during migration to AWS? Correct answer, Amazon EFS. Explanation, Amazon Elastic File System provides scalable, serverless, NFS-based file storage. Why others are incorrect? Amazon EBS, block storage, not NFS. Amazon S3 Glacier, archival storage, not NFS. Amazon S3, object storage, not NFS. A company needs high availability, encryption at rest, and internet access to stored data at the lowest cost. Which AWS service is best? Correct answer, Amazon S3. Explanation, Amazon S3 provides durable, highly available, internet accessible object storage with built-in encryption. Why others are incorrect? Amazon EBS, not internet accessible, tied to EC2. AWS Storage Gateway, hybrid storage, more complex and costly. Amazon EFS, high availability but more expensive than S3. A company's website behind an ALB must be protected from SQL injection and XSS attacks. Which service should it use? Correct answer, AWS WAF. Explanation, AWS WAF protects against web exploits like SQL injection and cross-site scripting. Why others are incorrect? Trusted advisor, provides recommendations, not real-time protection. Guard duty, detects malicious activity, not web app firewall. Inspector, scans for vulnerabilities, not web traffic filtering. Which AWS services allow on-premises data centers to connect securely to AWS? Correct answer, AWS VPN, and AWS Direct Connect. Explanation, AWS VPN provides secure IPsec connections. AWS Direct Connect provides a dedicated, private network connection. Why others are incorrect, AWS Data Pipeline, Data Workflow Service, not networking. AWS Cloud HSM, Hardware Security Module, not connectivity. AWS Directory Service, Directory Integration, not connectivity. Which is a recommended AWS well-architected design principle? Correct answer, learn to improve from operational failures. Explanation, the operational excellence pillar emphasizes continuous learning and improvement from operational events. Why others are incorrect, manual configuration, opposite of best practices. Infrequent large changes, increases risk, small, frequent changes are better. Monolithic design, opposite of recommended microservices approach. A company's EC2 hosted app experiences sudden demand spikes. To respond automatically at the lowest cost, which AWS service should be used? Correct answer, AWS Auto Scaling. Explanation, AWS Auto Scaling adds/removes EC2 instances dynamically to match demand while optimizing cost. Why others are incorrect, Compute Optimizer, recommends resources, doesn't scale. Well-architected framework, guidance, not scaling. Cost Explorer, cost analysis, not scaling. A developer new to AWS wants an easy way to build a web app. Which service should they start with? Correct answer, Amazon Lightsail. Explanation, Amazon Lightsail is designed for beginners, providing simple deployment of web apps with pre-configured environments. Why others are incorrect, Lambda, serverless compute, requires more AWS knowledge. SageMaker, for ML, not web apps. ECS, container orchestration, more advanced. Which AWS managed services provide user authentication? Correct answer, AWS IAM, and Amazon Cognito. Explanation, IAM handles authentication and authorization for AWS users. Cognito provides authentication for web and mobile apps. Why others are incorrect, License Manager, manages software licenses, not users. CloudStar, not an AWS service. Lambda, compute service, not authentication.